Hey everybody, it's Tafony here once again. Hope you're doing well today. I'm rambling about the ALM busy circuits. Akemie's Taiko, it sounds like this. Okay, Akemie's Taiko, let's bring it in here. It is a 16 HP FM drum-focused synthesizer module, I guess you could call it. It's built on the Yamaha IC chip that appears in things like the DX100 and the Simmons SDE drum, which, given that as a percussion synthesizer, I think that really is the inspiration here. I'll just say before we get started, I'm a mere mortal. I don't know every depth of minutia about FM. I don't know every single thing about its history and all the different algorithms and all the complexities of it. But part of what I love about the Akemie's Taiko is you don't really need to know any of that, and I did try and pick up on some of it going into this video, but you don't need any of that with this thing to get at it. Just send it a trigger, mess with the knobs, what sounds good, what makes it, sound more metallic or less metallic or more bassy, or, just go at it and have fun, and then modulate it and do the fun for you. It really doesn't need that depth of exploration to enjoy it, but it is also really rewarding if you do choose to go that route, which we can hopefully scratch the surface on today. We'll see how that actually goes. However, I have this in algorithm 2, which we'll get into what the different algorithms do in a moment, but I want to go through the waveform reference in a way and show you basically what different waveforms you can use for frequency modulation on each other. I'm not using an algorithm that cross mods or anything like that. We're just listening to the basic wave shape outputs. So these are going to mean different things as the output, but let's go through the waves real quick just so you can get an idea of what the oscillators themselves are sounding like on here. We have sine into half sine, into ABS sine, into pulse sine, into alternating even sine, then there's camel sine, and a square wave, and then the last one they describe as logarithmic sawtooth / derived square. And you will rarely hear any of these specific waveforms at the output, but we did find a patch here where we can explore them all. So that's what's going on under the hood. I don't believe any of the algorithms allow you to do one wave on one operator and then a different wave on the other, but at the output you're going to find a crazy amount of different waveforms. So pretending I understand FM at all for a moment here, let's get into the algorithm section. So there's a whole bunch of different algorithms, and again, because these things don't morph between each other, I almost wish these weren't encoders, but they work totally fine. For demonstration purposes, it would be nice for me to tap it like you did tap the buttons on the Akemie's Castle, but here we go with 1. So there is either 2 or 4 op FM going on here. In the first couple algorithms, it's 2 ops, so this is just 1 and 2 modulating each other. If we go into the others, here is 1 and 2, what we were listening to before, just going direct to the output. So if I bring up the release on the first operator, you can hear 2 of them. And then into algorithm 3, which is all 4 operators modulating each other. And obviously the wave selection is going to have huge impact on that. So if we go into the next one, are release envelopes that are controlling both the amplitude and the timbre in a way by amount of release. That is how they're going. I think the FM ratio here, if we start bringing that up here, you're going to increase in pitch as well as the timbre. Obviously the pitch is a big change in sound, but try and hear how we're cross-modding all the different ratios. Again, I'm a mere mortal. Here comes algorithm 5, and that's 6, which is crazy. The last one is sort of this one oscillator modding on top of the other 3 algorithms. Again, the last algorithm, final algorithm here, basically, I think the algo knob generally works in a way that's kind of like more and more crazy as you go up. I just love the digital grittiness to it. This feedback knob here, if you want to do some more FM on top of all of our algorithmic levels, this will self-modulate the first operator, which usually introduces noise, but will have different effect depending on the algorithm. Now this one has a lot of noise. Let's bring our releases down, crank the algorithm up. Try a different wave. I just love the grit. There's a mention in the manual that there's some digital noise that they attempted to reduce, but kind of preserve some of it because some people will like it, and I'm one of those people. Now, that's sort of the FM core. And again, I don't think you really go at this with the intentions of being like, okay, I want operator number 5, and I'm going to try and set a certain ratio with a certain waveform. I think you kind of just got to grab it and explore, right? Without trying to learn anything about this, when I first owned this way back in the day, most of my time was just spent noodling with it in this way. There's a good example of that feedback knob, just kind of introducing noise, but you know, in the middle too, lots of different timbre changes, right? So, let's turn that down. Let's make this a little more straightforward. That's that grittiness. I just love, like, I don't know what they do that it can have so much low end, but also, like, I don't know, there's this metallic ringy thing going on top that I just love. As I say, half the show is just trying to find adjectives. So let's get down to a more straightforward algorithm. So if we get back to our initial one that was basically listening to a single operator, we can add pitch bend. It's sort of convoluted on the Taiko in a way. You have your core frequency, which pitches up or down. Notice as well, I'll point out right now, that every time you trigger it, it's sort of like a snapshot of the settings, right? There's no triggering it and then pitching it, if that makes sense. So if I did a slow trigger with a long decay, every time it re-triggers, then we get a new setting. You don't morph the pitch while it's going. I don't know if that's a limitation of the chip or what the reason is, but I like that. It kind of has that BIA-ness to it, where you can create entire drum sets out of heavy modulation. Every sound is distinct. If you have triangle waves that are modulating it slowly, every hit will be unique without kind of sounding swoopy or changing. So we'll get to modulation in a moment, but here's a more straightforward for on the floor. And we'll show you some pitch bend, which is classic drum synthesis stuff, but Akemie's Taiko does it a little bit differently, so we can set a frequency start with our frequency, what I'm going to think of as pitch bend speed, and this will cycle. So if you crank this all the way up, note that it'll keep pinging it, right? So it'll get a little bit of its, I don't know, vibrato almost sound if it's cycling constantly, right? On top of the FM, on top of the feedback, on top of all these other things. But if we listen to that now, if we set it to a slow enough speed that it kind of just cycles once, we're going to put those in similar territory. We'll pitch this up a little bit. But we'll try and make this pitch bend sound pretty apparent. If we make it just pitch all the way down, we can kind of get into kick territory. But again, you hear it's cycling. And under extreme settings, get that zappiness, that do some FM in this way too, right? But these digital madness is what I love about the Taiko. Let's bring the ratio down. Pitch it up just a little bit. And most of where I find these sounds go is like pretty snappy, pretty digital, pretty, you know, my sci-fi movies from the 60s are jealous, but that's what I love about the Taiko. I'm not necessarily coming to this as a kick machine. I want to hear a crazy modulation. I want to hear crazy digital sounds. So that's pitch bend. That really helps to drive home that, you know, you're making percussion, I guess. Push the ratio down. There's some saw sounds in there as well. That's nice feedback. And in the realm of percussion as well, if we can do a little bit of randomization, we'll come in here and add some accent. So this is totally random. It'll just kind of change our VCA and the shape of things. And then as well, we have a choke. So I will add some more triggers in here. And we will create a second track so I can choke some of these off. And this is where it starts to get really interesting percussively. Bring in our second release. So those are envelopes that control the FM, and it will modulate different things depending on the algorithm. Everything in here talks to each other, right? You're going to get very different FM from modulating square waves against each other under one algorithm versus the other, or using different waveforms with different algorithms. So again, it's hard to talk about anything in here on isolation outside of that starting patch, because immediately everything just becomes lost in the soup of different FM settings here. And that sounds like a bad thing, but it's great to just pick this up and here it go. So ratio up here. Some very straightforward sounds. We can also do some very not straightforward sounds if we want to. Send it volt per octave if we want to do pitch-based sounds. Let's do that. And in an attempt to demonstrate everything, we kind of lose what makes it sound great, which is these sort of mayhem things, right? And this is where I think the Taiko really shines. Let's pitch that down a little bit. And again, in isolation, you're probably thinking, what the heck is this? But if we bring in some other stuff on top, here it comes. And then there's 2 volt per octave inputs, which I think is kind of crazy too. So if we pitch the end, how does that sound? Let's get lots of pitch bends. That is, so I'm sending a sequence there. It doesn't sound melodic at all, and that's okay. This is the wildness of the Taiko that I really love. Running out of cables as always. Let's send some modulation here, because that's what I love to do with the Taiko. So we're going to send, I like to modulate the waves because you get some really crazy per step different sounds. So I'm sending a triangle wave. So I think you got to have a donk and kick. But when you get like an entire kit on top of it, like we're doing right now, I really enjoy that. So we're going to manually modulate with the lapses off some of the other parameters, like the algorithm. And in a live performance, I'm already like, this is where I want to be. Take out my volt per octave, see how that compares. And what if I modulated my ratio? Yeah. Have my algorithm changing. And I sent, I don't know, volt per octave to the waves, which would, why not? These are just the sounds that I really love. I'll turn down the kick, maybe out of the territory I'd like to be usually, just so we can hear what the Taiko's doing. Like, these are like the reasons to be in Eurorack for me, right? Like, what other hardware could you pull this sort of crazy sound out of, right? Right? Because never, in my mind anyway, could I sit down and think, I couldn't sit down and set out to create those sounds. But with something like the Taiko and other crazy percussion Eurorack modules, like, you can find them. Yeah. If I take out my accent, maybe I'll just use it as a gate on the release. Yeah. Make my pitch bend more extreme. When you get your speeds up like super fast, that zappy territory. Yeah. Alright, I'm Tafony, Taiko. This is what I'm in electronic music for, is these sounds. And something like Taiko is a reason to be in Eurorack in my mind. So I always find it kind of funny when people say, Why wouldn't I just buy a drum machine? Well, I don't know. What drum machine could you grab knobs and create sounds like this? I don't know. Now we'd love to hear it. Alright, I'm Tony. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. See you in the next video. Goodbye!